I have one message for all the listeners.
Hmm.
I just want to tell them that the very fact that you are tuned in, you are right here in this space. This is a space of personal development.
Hmm.
That is an indication that you have a dream and you have everything it takes to make that dream come true. So it's just a matter of finding the right coach, the right mentor, and taking the right action
Hmm.
without giving up on any of your dreams or any of your actions. Just go ahead, take it and do it. And a big round of applause for all of them who is listening to this and investing in self-education and self-growth.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Your Best Self podcast, where I get to interview successful and or inspiring people about their journey, what obstacles they have been through, and what lessons they learned along the way in order to inspire you and the world. My name is Robert, and today I have the honor to be interviewing Rupa Patil, who is absolutely amazing. We've been speaking a little bit about, off the call, and, she's going to share a lot of great things. Now, Rupa is a certified trainer. She is a coach. She is an event planner and a mastermind professional. She got coached by the world-class mentors like Harv Eker, Blair Singer, Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, Russell Brunson, and so many more. Now she is on a mission to help 10,000 people live a freedom lifestyle. So with that said, Rupa, welcome to the interview. Welcome to the podcast. How are you feeling today?
Hi, Robert. Oh my God, what an introduction. I'm feeling great. Thanks to you. Thank you for having
Fantastic.
me on your show.
Awesome. So, Rupa, tell us a little bit, about the freedom lifestyle. What's the definition of that?
My favorite definition of freedom lifestyle is living a life of passion, purpose, peace, and profits.
Nice. And how did you get onto that mission? Because obviously, let's back it up a little bit. How did you get into this whole entrepreneurial journey?
Oh, you mean back it up in the crazy times where, nothing
Exactly.
was clear. Oh, I love
Exactly.
that part. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I got started, so I was already an entrepreneur. So, I have worked in corporate for almost 14 years,
Hmm.
managing multiple teams. I have got the opportunity to create leaders. So I had my fun time in corporate world. And then, I got a baby and I couldn't
Oh.
spend enough of time with him, and
Hmm.
all the mothers all around the world can probably relate to it.
Yeah.
We are when the baby is born, our guilt factor gets automatically associated,
Yeah.
not spending enough time,
Uh-huh.
not doing enough of cooking, baking, whatever it is. So like all the mothers, I had that too. So although I was doing well in corporate, great in my teams, I was having fun. So I loved what I was doing even in my corporate life.
Hmm.
But the fact was, I did not have the freedom of time.
Yeah.
And as a mother to a newborn kid, that
Mm.
mattered the world to me.
Yeah.
So I still remember, once my baby was just 3 months old,
Hmm.
and that tiny little infant,
Mm.
and I had I was literally, carrying him. He was only this
Yeah.
young, and I was
Hmm.
carrying him, and I had to literally drop him one day to the creche, to the baby
Hmm.
care center,
Yeah.
and I had to go back to office.
Mm.
That separation anxiety hit me so bad.
Oh, yeah.
And my husband still jokes around it, saying that, the baby did not have a separation anxiety, but his mother did.
Yeah.
And he was right. So
Mm.
that's when it got started. I got started thinking, okay, what's the use of making a lot of money and,
Mm.
having a huge massive team if I can't even come back home and spend quality time with my own kid?
Yeah.
Leaving a 3-month old baby in an unknown environment,
Mm.
it just killed a very big part of me inside. And from that moment
Yeah.
onwards, I decided, okay, you know what? I really need to get into business. I
Mm.
didn't know what, but it was fun. So from there onwards, I launched my first offline business, which is
Mm-hmm.
into event planning and corporate gifts. Today,
Mm-hmm.
that business has turned 7-year old. Um,
Nice.
thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
Mm-hmm.
you very much. And on that journey, again, because it's events and corporate gifts, I could serve only my country. And I
Mm-hmm.
was used to speaking with people from all over the globe in my corporate life.
Yeah.
And I was used to, thinking big, serving a larger community. And I thought, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I really need to do something, either, with my current business or launch another business. But I really want to cross the international borders. And
Mm.
that's when I started my journey of online businesses, studying, failing, launching
Mm-hmm.
multiple business, failing multiple times.
Yeah.
So during that time, somewhere, although everything else was uncertain, I got clarity that A, I love helping people. I
Mm-hmm.
love serving people. And B, I really want to do it not just for money, because, if the question is just about earning money,
Yeah.
probably a good job and a good bonus, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
is enough for people. It was enough for me if money was only the criteria.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized that no, you know what, there is so much more to money. It is,
Mm.
we want more money not just for having the fun of it, but to have more free time with our family, to work on a larger purpose, to do charity, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when, so from that uncertain times, I started seeing what are the common trends and what do people really, really crave for. And these are the four things that I finally boiled down to:
Mm-hmm.
passion, purpose, peace, and
Mm-hmm.
profits. So
Yeah.
that was the prelogue to this
Uh-huh.
entire mission.
That's fantastic. And I totally agree with you that, sort of this freedom is what people are longing after, right? It's like probably like happiness and freedom are like those two emotions that are the most desirable for people and that, people want to have, but people sort of cannot really find because they are
Mhm.
constantly looking for that and looking for that.
Mhm.
Whereas, sometimes you got to realize that happiness sort of is a choice because you can be happy with what you have and with what you do already. But if you're constantly chasing after that, you will never sort of find this happiness, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah. So during that time where you sort of got into this whole online world, and we've been talking about that, off the call as well, you obviously have been failing a lot. You've been trying a lot. So what was going on there? Like, what did you learn from this period?
Mm-hmm. Great question. And I know, I mean, I really enjoyed the conversation that we had because
Mm-hmm.
almost every individual who has attempted online businesses at any point of time can probably relate to this.
Yeah.
You literally, it's a very funny, simile, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like kissing so many frogs just to find
Yeah.
your
Exactly. Yeah. Uh-huh.
so that's what happened. So I tried one business, second business,
Mm-hmm.
third business, and until you hit that sweet spot where it is in line with your mission, it is in
Mm-hmm.
line with your passion, it is in line with your purpose, and while doing all this you're not losing your peace of mind.
Yeah.
Because I find it really funny when people give advertisements of
Mm-hmm.
freedom business or laptop lifestyle. So you're
Yeah.
sitting on this beautiful
Uh-huh.
beach, but what are you doing on that beach?
Uh-huh.
Well, you're sitting with your laptop, you're
Exactly.
working.
Yeah.
And somewhere that, I have used, I'm guilty of using those images as
Mm-hmm.
well, but it didn't strike to me, because if I'm on a beautiful beach, I would rather be there. If I'm with my
Exactly.
kid, I would rather be there than sitting
Mm-hmm.
on my laptop. So in the initial years, of course, it is absolutely important for us to uh, see what's working, what
Mm-hmm.
what feels right for you, because there are so many multiple online businesses, and
Yes.
one business may seem perfect fit for a person A.
Mm-hmm. But
Correct.
not for person B.
Not for person B.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you know what? So that's the reason why we have to keep trying and failing forward. The most important
Mm-hmm.
part is, just because a business A did not suit me, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
should not stop me from trying business B.
Yeah.
And it's a little counterintuitive, because you're already, if you are attempting any business, you are already that crazy 20%. So
Yeah.
rest of the 80% are still going to look
Mm-hmm.
at you and trying to, and they love you, and probably that's the
Mm-hmm.
reason why they are trying to dig in some amount of sanity in you. So when
Yeah.
you
Sure.
fail in one business, they
Uh-huh.
say, hey, you know what,
Hey.
probably this is the right time to go back to that
Uh-huh.
job that you left.
Uh-huh.
And then you try business B, business C. But my suggestion would, I mean, from my experience, I can talk,
Mm-hmm.
is unless and until you find that business
Yeah.
which is in line with your mission, in line with
Mm-hmm.
your passion, something that you feel right about doing, and
Mm-hmm.
you would instantly know it, because the
Yeah.
moment you start that business, you can't sleep at night, and in a
Mm-hmm.
nice way, and you're
Yeah.
always thinking about it, you're always talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think unless and until you get that gut feeling with that
Mm-hmm.
business, everybody has to go through that roller coaster ride and
Yeah.
have fun at the
Yeah.
time.
I Totally agree with that, because we've been talking about that I had the similar story of just trying out all sorts of different things and had the shiny object syndrome, buying all those
Yeah.
products, spending over $10,000 on all those things. And
Oh,
I truly believe that you sort of have to go through that, as you said,
yes.
to find what is truly working for you, right? Because as you said, like, if you are not in alignment with this business, if it doesn't really fulfill you, and I believe that at some point you will feel that
Yeah.
you might be in some way successful in terms of
Mhm.
money, but
Yeah.
deep down that there's something missing, like you're not
Yeah.
being fulfilled, and this void is going to get bigger and bigger unless you find
Mhm.
out what it is that is missing and truly resolve that, right? And I
Yeah.
love the fact that you said that people obviously going to look at you, you're going to think you are crazy, and going to talk you basically out of that. Have you had that as well, where people around you sort of didn't really support you in this whole journey, basically?
Yeah, so absolutely. I think everybody goes through that journey, and
Mm,
so am I. And when I say they go through that journey, is it's literally a continuous process. As long as you're going to try something new.
mm-hmm,
So, for instance, when I launched my first business, for instance, my husband, he really thought that I was crazy to leave a
mm-hmm,
well-paid job where I was respected, I had a great team, and I was doing really, really well.
mm-hmm,
So he thought I was crazy to leave that job security
mm.
to
Security,
start
yeah.
my own business.
Uh-huh.
So I had my first bummer right there. And I was
Mm,
like, okay, but this is what I want to do, because I want to spend more time with my kid, because
mm-hmm,
I may get a job and a business later, but my baby is not going to be a baby anymore. And
yeah,
7 years later, he is running on the streets and he is so busy by himself.
exactly.
So that's there. I hit my first roadblock there.
Mm-hmm,
And again, in your friends and family, you'll always have a mix of people. Some truly support you, some
mm-hmm,
truly doubt you.
yeah.
And so what I've understood is all of them, whether they are supporting you or not supporting you, they
Mm-hmm,
are essentially coming from the feeling of love. They want
mm,
to love you, they want to protect you
yeah.
from heartbreak, from the depression that you may
Mm-hmm.
go through after a business fails. So I
Mm-hmm,
get it. But by the time I think that knowing that feeling that
mm-hmm,
they come out of love, they stay out of love, the moment you understand that,
yeah.
I think until then the journey becomes a little tough. So
Mm-hmm,
later on, when that business got kind of settled and I started getting really good clients like
mm-hmm.
Amazon, Lenovo,
Wow.
Pearson Education, and really good
Mm-hmm,
names I got for my first business, they were my
mm-hmm,
clients. And then I got this bug bitten of starting another business.
yeah.
Once again, I was going through that
Uh-huh.
journey. Once again, I had got so many people around me saying, no, you know what, you already have a good business, why don't you scale that up? Why
Mm-hmm,
do you need another business?
mm-hmm,
So, well, at that point of time, all you need to do is maintain your sanity, believe in your dreams, and be
mm-hmm.
okay with your failures.
Yes,
Because the
yes.
moment you fail, those people who are not supporting you are going to look
Mm-hmm.
at you and say, hey, I
I
said
told
so.
you. Yeah.
I
Uh-huh.
told you, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And at that point of time, you should be confident enough to say that, yes, but I own my mistake. This
Mm-hmm.
is one step closer to my success.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, I have had
Mm.
the same journey and I would continue having it whenever
Yeah.
I try something new. I'm
Mm.
sure that's going to happen.
Yes, and I love the fact that you said that, failure, you should be okay with, failing, right? Because failure, in a sense, is needed in order to,
Yep.
get to the next step. And you said, fail forward fast, basically,
Yeah.
because like each time you fail, you learn. And usually people learn more from their failures about what not
Yep.
to do than what to do. And once you realize that it's part of the game and it's needed for you to succeed,
Mhm.
then sort of like seeing failure in this new perspective is not going to be as scary as beforehand,
Yeah.
where you're like, oh, I don't want to fail, like, oh, I'm just not going to do anything because I'm so afraid to fail. And now when you see failure as a good thing, because
Yeah.
each failure brings you closer to the ultimate goal where you want to go,
Mm.
then you will be alleviated from that fear of failure, and you will be able to do a lot of new things, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. In fact, at this point of time, let me share with you
Mm-hmm.
how one saying that
Mm-hmm.
completely changed my outlook towards failure. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that was again from T. Harv Eker. So what he said was, if you are failing, if
Mm-hmm.
you know if you try something and then you
Mm-hmm.
fail,
Yeah.
you're actually one step closer to success. So
Yes.
one step towards failure or one step towards success is exactly the same.
Mm.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute. You are
Mm-hmm.
T. Harv Eker. How can you say
Mm-hmm.
something like that? And da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And then I read it and read it and read it again. I said, oh, wow, it makes sense.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
one step towards failure is
Mm-hmm.
exactly the same as one step towards success. And I
True.
said,
Yeah.
wow, that
Yeah.
totally makes sense. And that is
Yeah.
when I started looking at failures in a much more different way. So even if I do fail at something,
Mm-hmm.
I do not get defensive. And earlier I used to get
Mm-hmm.
defensive, saying, no, 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 you know what? No, no,
Mm-hmm.
I did not do it, or the market was not right, and this is
Yeah.
it, blah, 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 the
Uh-huh.
timing was not right.
Yeah.
And now I say, hey, you know what? There is something that I could learn from this failure,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going ahead. So I apply the same principles in my personal as professional life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you just said you sort of have been blaming all sorts
Mm-hmm.
of outside circumstances, and I believe that a lot of people do that, where they put the responsibility away from them because it's just easier to blame
It's
something
easy, yeah.
outside. But let's talk about the importance of actually taking responsibility for pretty much
Yeah,
every action of your life.
yeah.
So what do you have to say about that? Where you?
Oh, that is that one thing that
Mhm.
totally changed the way I do things,
Yeah.
both personally and professionally.
Mm-hmm.
So things like taking complete accountability,
Yes.
things like do not even blaming. So very funny instance, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I have this 7-year-old kid, and they all play downstairs, and theirs is a big gang of kids,
Mm-hmm.
and I love playing with kids. I
Yeah.
mean, it just keeps your
Mm-hmm.
energy level high. So one day I was playing with my son and all his friends, and suddenly I see this dog which looks friendly, and I
Mm-hmm.
say, so this dog was barking too much, and we basically the bark was too interrupting
Mm-hmm.
for our playtime. I said, let me do something. So
Mm-hmm.
I was the only adult. I went to the dog, and I didn't see the dog owner around. So although the
Mm-hmm.
dog was tied, and I thought of petting the dog, and so that it cools, it kind of
Mm-hmm.
settles down. And the exact opposite happened. So I
Oh.
tried petting, and I
Mm-hmm.
got a nice big cut. My
Oh.
thumb was badly bitten, and
Oh,
the
wow.
blood was all over. I didn't want the kids to see the blood, so all I did
Mm-hmm.
was just covered my thumb.
Mm-hmm.
I ran, I washed it, I covered it, I kept the wound pressed so
Mm-hmm.
that the kids don't get freaked out. And
Mm.
throughout that walk from that play area to back home, all the kids and I, we were walking, and my son was protective of his mom, and he said, I hate that dog, bad doggy, I
Oh.
will never be his friend, I'll never be
Yeah.
any dog's friends. And at
Uh-huh.
that point of time I actually told him, hey, you know what, this dog bite is not the doggy's mistake,
Mm.
it is your mama's
Mm-hmm.
mistake. Your mama did not ask anybody if the dog is
Mm-hmm.
friendly.
Yeah.
And I said, is it right to blame somebody when it is not their mistake?
Mm-hmm.
My son was taken back. And although
Mm.
inside it was like, paining, take
Mm.
me too. It
Uh-huh.
was crazy.
Uh-huh.
But the moment I said that,
Mm-hmm.
so in this moment of crisis, when your kids hear, because the kids are just anybody around you, they're not going to hear what you say, they're going to
Mm.
do what you do.
Yeah.
And at that point of time, I realized the importance of taking accountability. You
Mm-hmm.
may be in the most adverse situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, something may not have gone the way, even if you have tried your level best. But the moment you take accountability, you do not give control to anybody else.
Yes.
I mean, how powerful is that? I wish somebody would have
Mm-hmm.
told this to me when I was 7-year-old.
Mm.
So that incident, and the very fact that you can take complete accountability of situations happening around you,
Mm-hmm.
especially your own life, things
Yeah.
change, and things
Oh,
change
yeah.
drastically, and then it becomes a part of your system. So it
Mm-hmm.
starts reflecting in your personal and professional life. And then one point comes, the only bad thing about it is the moment you see some people around you who are constantly blaming, who are constantly,
Mm-hmm.
playing the
Yes.
victim card,
Uh-huh.
you instantly judge them. So right now I'm
Yeah.
fighting with,
True.
so my learning curve right now is how
Mm-hmm.
not to judge them, and
Yeah.
how let them be. So because whenever
Mm-hmm.
they are ready to evolve, they will evolve. But
Yeah.
until then, they are going to play victim cards, and
Mm-hmm.
them 80% of population does that. So you
Yeah.
cannot change everybody, but even if you can influence 1 out of 10
Mm-hmm.
people, you know the ripple
Yes.
effect, they would probably
Yes.
go and influence a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the
Yes.
only drawback.
I totally agree. And just this moment where you are sort of just like growing and you realize, right, I got to take responsibility, but all the people around you, they're still in this victimhood mentality and they're blaming stuff. And you're just like sitting inside like, oh, stop it. Stop it. Like you wish you could be doing something about it, but obviously you cannot force your beliefs sort of on them, and they got to realize that themselves, right? So I love the way that you said, like, you can have this ripple effect, just like if you influence one person, it can have a big effect on the whole world, basically, in a way. Now, I also want to back up a little bit here, because I love what you said here, that sort of your son started saying like, oh, bad doggy, I will never be friends with doggies, and you sort of now stopped him from perhaps having a little, I would say, trauma in the adult life, where he would be scared of dogs, and that's sort of which got me to the question, like, limiting beliefs. That would have been a limiting belief, and in that situation you sort of saved him from that limiting belief. Let's talk about limiting beliefs for a second, because I believe that a lot of people have been or have struggles with limiting beliefs that come exactly from moments like these, where something happened and they misunderstood it in a way. So how important is it to identify those limiting beliefs and, resolve them in order to be living your best life?
Yeah, I love this question, Robert. Thank you for asking this question, because this is where everything starts, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why would you be on this journey of inspiring and impacting people?
Yeah.
There is a story that you have. And same way, I mean, you have overcome so many limiting beliefs in your own life. And the fun part is, whenever I read biographies, or whenever I observe and start following leaders and see what they have to say, I especially love it when they do a candid interview, where they go back and talk about their initial, where they were Mr. or Miss Nobody, and what were their internal and external struggles. And what I've observed is, take the best of the people. Everybody, every single person has had their inner and outer struggles. And the funny part is, the outer struggles becomes very negligible or manageable the moment you come terms with, moment your inner struggle kinds of settle. That is when the outer struggles become manageable. Because outer struggles is more about skills, right? Like, for example, I have launched a business and I don't know, I'm not getting new clients. It is all about marketing. Or I've started a video channel and I'm not getting enough subscribers. It is probably about branding and stuff like that. So all these skills are learnable. But the fun part is, when it comes to this inner beliefs, again, I mean, one great thing that I've learned from Harv Eker, and I keep talking about it, because talking about him, because he is literally the master of this inner world, outer world concept. So one of the things that he says is, the moment you fix your inner world is like this roots, right? Roots of a tree. The moment you fix it, the branches and the fruits automatically gets fixed.
Yes.
And I was like,
True.
okay, that makes sense, but how? So that's when, following great leaders, going through podcasts like this, what you are doing, listening to thoughts of other people other than your own head, because your head is perhaps the greatest and the best storyteller.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And have you seen that, when we have a limiting belief, it's one mind which says, okay, this is not really helpful. It is not a positive or a negative thing. It is not a good or a bad thing, but it is an empowering and a non-empowering thing. The feeling is more like empowering. It either enables me to go closer to my goal, or it does not empower me. It pulls me back from my goal. But when you identify that limiting belief, there's one voice in your head which goes, yeah, that is a limiting belief and I need to overcome. And then your mind, the second part, right? And it makes such amazing stories of convincing you why this belief is so true.
Yes.
And and I think that's when following great leaders, reading great books, attending amazing masterminds, seminars, conferences, self-learning, and the commitment to self.
Yeah.
that understanding that, yes, this is a limiting belief. It is not going to be easy. It's like a
Hmm.
habit.
Yes.
Habits are not easy to change, but
Hmm.
nobody said that habits are impossible to change.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I totally agree with you
Like that.
because I actually have been on T. Harv Eker's Million of Mind Intensive seminar over three
There you
days.
go.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
there
and
you go.
and we've been doing a lot of those exercises where we sort of like
Yeah,
identified those limiting beliefs, and it was tough because literally like
yeah,
the whole room, they were just
yeah,
like bawling their eyes out, crying
yeah.
because a lot of limiting beliefs, they come from deep in the
Mm,
childhood or something, a little trauma happened to us, or all this conditioning that we've been through by our
yeah.
parents saying, hey, money doesn't grow on trees, and
Mm,
like rich people are evil and blah blah blah. All those things, they have an effect on you right now, and unless you resolve those things, they will always have this negative impact on you, even though you are not realizing that, right? So
yeah.
I really like Million Mind Intensive was an absolutely amazing seminar, and it
Oh,
really was
wow.
life changing because everybody was just like crying, and it was so powerful.
I
So
totally understand. I mean, last year, this time, I think my Millennial Mind Intensive happened somewhere in February of last year, and it
mhm,
completely changed. In
yes.
fact, that was the reason when, why I decided to challenge not only my
Mhm.
limiting beliefs, but also to create new habits.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
fantastic.
great.
So we've been talking a lot about T. Harv Eker, and you said you've been coached or like by other people as well. And I would love to hear the story of you basically burning the bridges, because that's obviously always a great story to hear. So tell me a little bit more about that.
So I think the right way of putting it is, in my journey of insanity. This would probably be the winner, the
Fantastic.
prize winner.
Yeah.
The Grammy goes to burning the bridges. So I think last year, when I realized the importance of fixing my inner world, fixing
Hmm.
my limiting beliefs. And at that point of time, I was also around a year and a half into my second business, and it was not
Hmm.
really, taking speed as it should have.
Hmm.
And it started, it got me thinking that there are two ways of going about it. Either I continue doing what I'm doing, hoping for great results,
Hmm.
or B is I look up to those people who have been there, who have done that,
Hmm.
who have committed all the mistakes that I'm about to commit, and
Hmm.
who can save my time, my efforts, my further insanity, or the heartbreaks.
Yeah.
So yeah, and when you choose this path of following somebody and helping, fast forward your business,
Hmm.
fast forward your personal and business growth, yes, it doesn't come cheap. And it's very funny when,
Hmm.
I'm in my coaching, and when I'm coaching and training other people really want to go forward in their life,
Yeah.
change their financial status, their emotional
Hmm.
status, their relationship status. But it's heartbreaking to see how little people understand the value of investment.
Yes. True.
And once I crossed that bridge, I said, okay, you know what? If I run my business really good,
Hmm.
whatever amount I'm investing here in self education, I
Hmm.
can get multifolds out here,
Yes.
in my own business. But it was a very conscious decision. It is a choice
Hmm.
that I made. And probably it is also one of the best decisions, because
Hmm.
in just that 1 year of time, and I have invested more than, I think, $30,000
Wow. Yeah.
in just a year.
Hmm.
And it was crazy. I mean, it was so scary, but
Hmm.
at the same time, I was convinced that the kind of investment that I'm doing is exactly in line with my mission.
Hmm.
And probably the best investment that one could do is
Hmm.
investment on themselves.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
and yes, it was an absolutely scary decision. But
Hmm.
the moment I started seeing the results, and you don't even have to wait for a course to get completed or a
Hmm.
coaching to get completed in order to take action. So just in that 1 year, and I always call 2019 as my needle mover
Hmm.
year of my life, because not
Hmm.
only I burned my bridges. And what
Hmm.
happens is, like, once you have already blown your uh, life savings
Yeah.
into self education,
Uh-huh.
now you know that there is no way back. Now the
Yeah.
only way out of this mess is way up. The
Hmm.
success is the only way. So you work twice or thrice more with
Mm.
commitment, and you just know that you have to make this work.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. And just within a year's time, I have got my first ebook out. I have got my first
Mm-hmm.
mastermind, my first this, first that. So it was all good, and I started seeing the results. But I also, when somebody, one of my training came to me and said, hey, you know what, I
Mm-hmm.
really want to do this, but I said, here's the thing, you will do it
Mm-hmm.
when you truly want to.
Yeah, true.
So
Yeah, and I love the fact that commitment is like this important factor that not only you got to commit to becoming your best self, right, and living your best life, because if you're not, and it all starts with just a single decision. It's like literally your life can change just like that by you right now listening to this, saying, all right, you know what, they're right, like I gotta change my life, like I want to live my best life, and it already starts with that, right? So once you make that commitment, your whole life can change literally in an instant. But I also love the fact that financial commitment is also incredibly important, because people nowadays, they don't value free stuff. Like free stuff is out there like all the time, and even if you get like a fantastic course completely for free, you're not going to go through it and apply it in the same efforts if you would have spent $500 on that, right? And that's why it's so saddening to see, because a lot of people have a lot of potential, but they're still in this fixed mindset of, oh, and I don't want to spend like that much on just information. And that was myself as well. Like the very first time I got on a webinar where they've been pitching a business about Instagram influencers and all of that, and I didn't realize that at the end something was pitched. So then the price was, I think, like 297 or 397, and I remember sitting there like, what? No way. Like, no way I'm going to be spending $400 on just information, right? I was like at that point, but I didn't realize, because I ended up then spending $1,500, 2 weeks after that, because I realized, all right, there's something in here, and I need to be making that kind of investment, because otherwise I will not take it serious. And it definitely, because of that investment, I was just like hammering through no matter what, right? Because once you make that, there's, as you said, there's no way back. Like you literally burn all the bridges, and the only way is up, right? So I love the fact there. So what can people then make? Because obviously now you're helping people create their freedom lifestyle. You are helping them sort of monetize their knowledge, monetize and build a business out of their passion. What are the first few steps of how people can do that?
Okay, great question. So I would say it all starts with, first of all, do you really want to do that?
Yeah.
Now, whenever I ask that question, almost everybody instantly will say, yeah, that's why I'm here. And that's when, you really need to have a dialogue with them. And when I say about myself, so for instance, when I wanted to do something, when I wanted to create a freedom lifestyle, or a lifestyle where I have more control on my finances as well as my time, there was a time when I wanted all that, but I was not truly committed. And you would just know it. So, so if whoever is listening to this, as long as you don't feel that burning desire, even if you are put in the best program for free, you will not take action.
Absolutely.
Something inside has to be hurting you. In a way, either that, or you should be really looking forward for, so either the pain or pleasure thing that we talk about, right? Either you want to get away from your pain, or you're looking forward to get more pleasures in your life. Unless and until you feel absolutely strongly about either of these two things, you're not going to take action. Simple. And the fact is, unless and until you're committed, you're not going to take action, and therefore the results are not going to show up anyway. So I would recommend, do not even invest your time or money or energy on learning anything if you're not prepared. Because I'm sure, Robert, you would have seen that people, jump in because they are either brought in by somebody, pushed in by somebody, or they are just half-hearted in. And then what happens is they don't follow through. Therefore, they do not take action. And at the end of the day, they would come back blaming the trainer, the mentor, the coach, making them look bad. So I would say, don't even bother to go through that process unless until you truly, truly, truly feel, and you have this burning desire to go to and create a better version of yourself. But once you are there, once you know, once you're
Mm-hmm.
sitting at the edge of your seat saying, no, I want to be a better version
Mm-hmm.
of myself. I don't care what others say about me. I'm just going to compare myself with myself. What I was
Mm-hmm.
yesterday, what am I going to be today, and what path I'm set on for tomorrow. All
Mm-hmm.
that matters is this. Once you have that burning desire, then I would say absolutely. I mean, of course, there is a lot of free information. You talked
Mm-hmm.
about it, and today in this information age, everything is available,
Yeah.
out there, and just too much of it. So, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, if you just take up somebody is passionate about photography, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure there is a plethora of free photography courses,
Yep.
and sure, you can go and try all of them, get
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed, spend years learning about
Yeah.
photography. That is one way of doing it. If you have
Mm-hmm.
too much of time and too much of energy to waste. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're really serious about your success, about creating a better version of yourself in a very focused manner, I would say please go and find a mentor, a
Yeah.
coach, a
Mm-hmm.
trainer, somebody whose ethos, whose ethics, whose
Mm-hmm.
mission is in line with yours. So somebody whom you feel connected to,
Mm-hmm.
because you and I, we were talking about it, right? The amount of investments that we have
Yeah.
done in learning,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure half of the time why it didn't click is because the
Mm-hmm.
person who was behind it, you just couldn't connect with
Yeah.
that person
True.
anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that I always tell whomever I speak with, is
Mm-hmm.
while you are out there ready to invest in a course, in a coaching or a training, please
Mm-hmm.
find somebody whom you can truly connect to
Mm-hmm.
as a person. You don't even need to meet that person
Yeah.
face to face, but you just know where the connection is. And
Mm-hmm.
once you find that person has been there, has done that,
Mm-hmm.
then go ahead, invest your time, your energy, and yes, some amount of finances
Mm-hmm.
to learn from that person, because now that learning is going to be the focused learning. Now,
Yeah.
coming back to the photography example, either
Mm-hmm.
you can go through all the free stuff online and waste a lot of time, or you can find a photographer that whom you can relate to the most, and
Mm-hmm.
your style of photography, wherever you see yourself, envision yourself to be, find that person and see
Mm-hmm.
if that person has, that photographer kind of offers any kind of courses or training or workshops. Go ahead, enroll in that, find that passion and stick to it. And
Mm-hmm.
again, another thing is, do not invest your money and time if you're not going to take action.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely agree. And I love the fact that said, like, before you do anything, sort of really ask yourself, do I really want to do this? And I would even add to that, like, come up with the expectations that you have, because
Mm.
in today's world, with all the products out there and how they're being sold, the expectations that you get is, hey, you're going to become rich in just like 21 days, you're going to be making money in
Oh
24
yes.
hours, and all those things. And I'm just like, now knowing and being there and going through that, I'm just like, no, like, no. It's
No,
not
it's
gonna
not there.
happen. It's not gonna
Robert and
happen.
I, we have invested in that. It
Exactly,
doesn't work that
exactly.
way.
Yeah, and that's why, like, a lot of people, get into that, having just plain out wrong, unrealistic expectations, because they
Hmm.
are being sold in that way.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that, you said before you do anything, prepare yourself and set the expectations. And a mentor will tell you that, like, the mentor will tell you, hey, it is going to take you a while to grow.
Yeah.
It is going to be hard. You're going to have challenges. You're going to fall down. You're going to feel pain,
Hmm.
but that is part of the game. Oh, that actually
Hmm.
rhymed. Actually rhymed.
Write it down.
um,
Write it down.
exactly. Yeah. No, but yeah, so set the right expectations. And I think that
Hmm.
is very, very important, because with the wrong expectations, like, even if you are sort of committed, but you have wrong expectations and you get started in it and you realize, oh, I'm not rich after a month. And then all of a
Hmm.
sudden you ask yourself, like, all right, is it me? Like, am I,
Yeah.
the one that is doing something wrong?
Hmm.
Is something wrong with me? And then you
Yeah.
just start questioning yourself, and it's just going
Oh.
to lead you down to this negative, spiral of thoughts. And it can get really, really deep if you are not, careful enough, and it will just bring you down, and it
Yeah.
will not
Yeah.
make you happy at all.
Oh,
Yeah.
so true. And I'm sure, Robert, you're speaking from experience. I
Mm-hmm.
know I have experienced it. And somewhere, like you said, while you're in that journey, while you've just got a course just because it sounded too good,
Yeah.
and but it's also sounded easy, and
Mm-hmm.
then you enrolled, and then you're not seeing results. So
Yeah.
imagine this: as an entrepreneur, you're already too hard on yourself.
Mm.
You're working too hard, you're working long hours, you're already going against the flow of
Yeah.
what others do. And then when something doesn't work, the
Mm-hmm.
amount of pain and the self doubt that it regenerates is so painful. And then you have
Yes.
to literally 4 or 5 times the work just to pull yourself out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And no wonder, right? There are so many, especially in online business, you know it very well.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many people who get entered. I mean, every single day so many new people come in, and
Yes.
so many new people so many old people exit out of it
Mm-hmm.
because they give up because it was too painful. And
Yeah.
that is probably the reason, yet another reason, why getting a coach or getting
Mm-hmm.
a mentor is so helpful. I mean, although I would have loved to get it when I started, there were not
Mm-hmm.
many people who were willing to do a coaching. And if they were willing to, I did not have that kind of investment. Even if
Yeah.
I had put the life saving at that moment, it wouldn't have worked out. But
Mm-hmm.
now, if you look around, I mean, oh my God, this is so good, Robert, because
Mm-hmm.
nowadays you see coaches who are not only accessible but
Mm-hmm.
also fairly affordable, I would say.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
you don't even have to sign up for like years and years of commitment. It is
True.
just a month on month. All you need to do is get into their inner circle. And when I
Mm-hmm.
got started, I did not have that option. I did not have that option, or I was not even
Mm-hmm.
aware of it. And the amount of pains that I had gone through, oh, it is
Yeah.
spectacular what
Yeah.
you can do to hurt yourself. So
Yes.
that is another reason why finding a coach, finding a
Mm-hmm.
mentor is so helpful, because as you
Yeah.
correctly said, that person will constantly
Mm-hmm.
remind you and make sure that you are coming back on the track.
Yeah,
So important.
absolutely. Absolutely. And you have somebody that you can talk to, right? Because,
Yep.
with this entrepreneurial journey, online business, it can get really lonely because if you're
Oh.
just constantly sitting, on your desk, on your laptop, like you might be talking to a bunch of people online,
Yeah.
but it's just like the superficial connection, but
Yeah.
nobody really gets you, no, you
True.
cannot really open up to somebody and just share your feelings and the struggles that you have, because most of the people in your area and your surroundings, they do not really know what you're going through, because
Yeah.
they are perhaps having that fixed mindset, or are just in this 9 to 5 rut or job that
Mm.
they have. So that's why a coach or a mentor will also be just your beacon of light, sort of, that you can always turn to and know like which way to go. So I totally
Yeah.
agree with you. Just get yourself coach and mentor. And obviously if you do not have the funds to invest into that,
Mm.
try to find a way where you can sort of perhaps exchange some work for them in return, that
Correct.
they're going to teach you. But just
Yeah.
find somebody who you can
Yeah.
just turn to when you have a difficult time, because difficult times will be there. Like, I can promise you that. Like, I will not
Promise. Yes.
I will not tell you that it's going to be all easy walk,
Yeah.
because it will not be, right?
Yeah.
So, like, probably I know what you're going to be saying, but what would be then your advice to the 18-year-old Rupa?
Love it. I would say, you know what, first thing is, don't just get into a job when you want to
Hmm.
run a business, because
Yeah.
18-year-old Rupa knew that she wanted to get into business.
Hmm.
Then she got influenced with the surroundings
Yeah.
saying that, okay, no, you know what, getting the job
Hmm.
is really the way out, because you don't start a business when you're 18. And I'm talking about, like, a couple of decades ago, you
Hmm.
don't.
Yeah.
So I would absolutely say, first is believe in yourself. Whatever
Mm.
you think about yourself is not true.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
have a lot more potential. And if you want to run a business, go run it.
Mm.
Fail, and failing is absolutely okay. And go immediately find a mentor, and do not
Hmm.
leave that mentor until you're successful.
Yeah.
Period.
I love that. Yeah, I probably would have told myself the same way. Just believe in yourself and know that there's
Yeah.
lots of potential inside of you. But a lot of people are just scared to sort of bring that potential out, because
Mm.
fear of judgment comes in the way, fear of failure comes in the way, and lots of limiting beliefs that are sort of like laying on top of this potential. So unless you kind of like pick out all those limiting beliefs and all those fear, and you resolve them, and just like pick out those
Mm.
layers to open up this potential that is underneath that, That's what I want to get people to understand, because it's just saddening to see that there are like so many incredible, amazing people where you just feel that there is more inside of them, right? But they don't see it yet. And now you want to get it out, but it's just so hard because they are not working with you to get it out. So it's just like, come on, just work with me here a little bit. So so believe in yourself. That's definitely a great advice, and that a lot of people need to hear over and over and over and over and over again, because if you don't believe in yourself, then who will? Absolutely.
And we need to hear it too, right? I mean,
yes, absolutely.
It doesn't matter at which part of success journey you are in. What I've seen is those people who are truly successful, they also need this affirmations time and again, because they are fighting their own battles. They're launching their new businesses. They're probably investing in new businesses, and they are failing as well. So and here is the fun part, right, Robert? If I don't believe in myself, who else will?
Exactly. So, and I love the fact that you said that even though you're growing, like the challenges will only get bigger, right? They will only get bigger, and just the, what you get out of overcoming that challenge will just be so much more rewarding. But still, this question of like, am I sort of like good enough, or, just believing in yourself will always be there. So that's why it's so important to have the right mindset, because during that time where I've been working, online, I've noticed that a lot of people simply do not have the right mindset, including myself, back in the days where, I had the wrong expectations and all of that. But your income can only, go as far as your personal development goes, right? You cannot really exceed. And that's what, I want to bring people, listening to the podcast as well, or just following my YouTube channel, that you really got to personally develop yourself if you want to become successful in business and in life, right? So that's really cool. So we've been talking about, a bunch of mentors that you've been following and learning from. During that time, you probably have read a ton of books, I believe, as well. What would be the 3 top books that you would recommend anybody that wants to, become their best self?
So first has to be The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind by Harv Eker. Absolutely a must-read book. And on the same lines, there is a second book, and I'm just going to club it as number 2 here, not any specific chronological order, but Harv Eker has launched his second book, which is the next book, which is The Good Millionaire.
Okay.
And it's such a fun book to read, because it's very nicely written, and it's not really the bulky book. It's an easy, you can just read like 10 pages a minute kind of a thing. So more importantly, it's like a workbook, right? So you just read and implement. And although it's a difficult question, because you've asked me to pick only 3, but the third one I'm going to recommend is by one of my favorite trainers, and I call him my 4-minute mile example trainer, Robert Raymond Ryopel. And he has written a book which is Success Left a Clue.
Success Left a Clue. Okay.
So I love that book. I've been carrying it around, and I've got it autographed from him. So it's
nice.
very special. But there are so many books, but most important, again, what I say is, irrespective of what you're learning from and from whom you're learning. So after you have done the due diligence, only you have picked up that book or enrolled in a program. Now it's a question about taking action. So can I share the way I have started learning in last few days?
Please
last
do.
few weeks. Thank you. So what I'm doing is, whether I'm reading a book or listening to a podcast, or going through a video training, online training, or a coaching, I do not move to the next page until I implement, until I take action on what I have read on the previous page. So that means I can take one course and stretch it over 6 months' time, whereas somebody else can finish that course almost overnight. I take 6 months, but the beauty is, in that 6 months, I've implemented almost everything that I have learned from that course. The same goes with books. And once and this is just a little trick that I have tried, and oh my God, it has completely changed the way I consume a podcast or a book or a training. it just instantly makes me a better
Yeah.
person. Probably, it is also a great value, great
Mm-hmm.
return on my investment, because I've
Mm-hmm.
spent some money and I'm getting a
True.
return, a great value out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would certainly say that pick any book,
Yeah.
pick a page, read that page, go implement.
Mm-hmm.
Do
Yeah.
not go to the next page unless and until you've implemented what you've learned.
Mm-hmm. That's
What are
fantastic piece of
your
advice. Mhm.
sorry, what are
Yeah.
your favorite books? I was just curious.
Just before we get into that, I just want to say that's a fantastic piece of advice, because in today's world, we have this information overload where it's just like you just consume all the time. And I've always said, well, like the moment for me that which turned a lot of things around is where I realized, all right, I got to go from the consumer mindset to the creator mindset. Instead of reading all those books, instead of watching all those courses, instead of listening to all the podcasts, I need to be creating and writing something. I need to be creating videos, I need to be creating podcasts. So implement is definitely one thing, one sort of skill already. It's crazy that it's already got to a skill, because a lot of people have this perception that just because they consume things, just because they read and watch video courses, that they're making progress in life, and while that is somewhere sort of true, because you are getting information, in the end, it's not going to do anything for you if you are not actually implementing and taking action, on what you actually learn, right? So that's very, very important. So my top 3 books, which I would recommend, like I've been starting to read like for the past 2 years, I believe, and now I'm really vividly reading a lot. One book that I'm actually just reading, let me just check if I can find it somewhere around here. Yeah, there it is. Because I love those books which are sort of easy to read, and they have a story to tell, right? Because sometimes personal development books can be sort of dry, right? And you're, especially if they're like very big, they can be very intimidating, and you're like, oh, so like dreading it, every single time. So one book that I'm really reading right now and that I can recommend to anybody is The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, by Robin S. Sharma. Absolutely amazing book, because it's just like told in a way where there's a story, but in the story there are just so many pieces of wisdom that anybody can apply. And that's why probably like this is the book that I will be just gifting to people that I want to get onto this personal development journey. So that's a good book. Another book which I just read, which is also incredibly good, is Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Waltz. It goes about why it is so important to resolve limiting beliefs, and also it goes really deep into the self-image that we have, right? Because we cannot do anything else rather than how we see ourselves. So if you see yourself as the guy who is always failing, if you see yourself as the one that it will never be successful, then you will never be successful, right? So that's where he went really deep into a lot of amazing stuff that really carries your self-image and transforms that into one that is actually helping you. So that is the second book. And let me check my things here, which is also really good, because I've read so many in the recent year.
It's very difficult to pick 3.
Yeah, it's really difficult to pick 3. Absolutely. Oh, that's hard. Like one other was it's a German one. It's Das Café am Rande der Welt by John Strelicky. Like John Strelicky is my absolute favorite author, because he's creating those books where it's sort of envisioned into a story, but you still learn a lot. And one of the books he actually wrote was The Big Five for Life, which is also an absolutely amazing book, because it goes about like what are like the big 5 you have in your life, because the concept of the big 5 actually comes from the African safari, where the big 5 are like, I think, the elephant, the giraffe, the lion, the rhino, and one more, the zebra, I believe. And the more you actually saw on that safari, the more successful it was. So the concept of the big 5 now is, what are the big 5 of your life? Like, what are the big 5 goals, things that you want to see, things that you want to do? And now that you have found out about the big 5, everything you do in life sort of needs to resolve around those big 5. So that's nice. That's why I love this book as well, because it's just like, a story, but inside there's a lot of wisdom in that as well. So those would be probably my top 3 books that I would recommend.
It's amazing. And again, it goes back to the power of self-education, right?
Yes.
I mean, when we talk about knowledge transaction or
Mm-hmm.
information business, it's funny that people instantly think about courses,
Yeah.
and they say, okay, you know what, this is. I say, no, no, no. It starts with very basic things like books. You have
Mm-hmm.
been reading books, and some of
Yeah.
the books, and I have met so many amazing people. I have got an absolute privilege to meet them. And when I hear from them, almost everybody refers to some or the other book
Yeah.
as their turning point of life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's so good.
I mean, yeah, I mean, and something like I think one of the best gifts that you can give to somebody
Mm-hmm.
is certainly a book.
Yes.
And I think I must have given the power of subconscious mind as
Mm-hmm.
free giveaway gifts to so
Mm-hmm.
many people, because at that point of time, it totally changed the way I started giving, importance to the
Mm-hmm.
subconscious thoughts. Until
Mm-hmm.
then, I didn't even think so deeply about them.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
and books
books.
books are really underestimated because that's like you just gotta realize, hey, you can buy a book for like $10, $15, and
Yeah,
somebody, an author, put their whole life into that book. The best
yeah.
information is concised into that book, and
Mm,
many books are way better than any online courses because if you truly
yeah.
apply what you learn in that, then you will just go so much further than that. And there's actually one book that I want to recommend as well. I just listened to it on Audible because I didn't really think about the audiobooks that I listened to, and that's
Mhm.
The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. The Big Leap is absolutely amazing because it talks about sort of like the limiting, like you are hitting this plateau because you
Mhm.
you feel like this is your limiting point, right? And how
Ah,
to sort of resolve that and how to find your zone of genius where you
mm,
really are so free and you just live with your purpose, live with your mission, and everything that you
mm,
do is just like feels great, right? And finding that
mm.
zone of genius and like breaking through this limiting belief or this limiting plateau that you have set for yourself, that's sort of the gist of the book, and I really can recommend
Wow.
it to anybody else. Yeah.
Wow. That's so beautiful.
Fantastic. All right, so Rupa, we're getting close to the end of the interview, but there's always
Mhm.
one question I love to ask by the end of the interview, and that is if you had the chance to teach the entire world one single concept, one mindset, or one just thought that they would understand to make it a better place, what would it be?
Mhm. It has to be personal excellence. The
Mm,
power of personal excellence
mm-hmm.
goes back to what we have been talking about on this show.
Yeah.
The power that we already have inside us, be
Mm-hmm.
it attitude, be it mindset, be it that one single word. And I
Mm-hmm.
get goosebumps
Yeah.
every time I talk about this, is the
Uh-huh.
power of commitment. And
Mm-hmm.
all this, and just because, for the lack of better word, I've just clubbed it together and call it as personal excellence. And when I say, about personal excellence, it's not just for adults. If we can teach this concept of personal excellence at schools, at
Yes.
colleges,
Yes.
oh
Absolutely.
my God. And
Mm-hmm.
in any language is not even a barrier. But
Mm-hmm.
if we can, if I, as a kid, as a school kid, I had such poor self-esteem and had
Mm-hmm.
such horrible teachers
Yeah.
that self-confidence had taken a major hit. It took
Yeah.
me years of self-education, skilling up, and personal
Mm-hmm.
development to know that, oh my God, I already had these personality traits, these
Mm-hmm.
leadership traits right from a school.
Yeah.
Only if I had known about it, only if I had known how to tap into it. And
Mm-hmm.
therefore, I believe every single individual,
Mm-hmm.
irrespective of their gender, their place, their income status,
Mm-hmm.
or even their age, every single person has immense amount of personal excellence.
Yes.
It's just a matter of tapping into it and getting it
Mm-hmm.
out and seeing the
Yeah.
miracles happen.
I love that, and I totally agree with you. Just personal excellence. Yes, because I had another interview that we've been talking about where he also mentioned that every single one of us has the answers that they seek for inside of them. It's just a matter of getting it out, right? And I it sort of goes hand in hand of personal excellence of finding out like, all right, there is potential inside of me, how can I get it out? And I
Yeah.
love the fact that you said like we should and need and must teach this in schools. That's why one of my life goals is actually to create a school of personal excellence, and
Wow.
teach just like those things that we never ever learn in school. Because if you imagine like a world where people start to learn about self-esteem and, how to believe in yourself from an early age on. Like it even starts in the kindergarten, probably. Like if you can like stand everybody in front of the mirror and give yourself some positive affirmation, it could, start over there. Like, I am strong, I am beautiful, stuff like that. It would have such a big impact on just, the life that they will be, living in the end. So I love that. Like, and that's why I want to, some point create a school of excellence.
That's great. And I think that is also a necessity. So here is the thing, Robert, if you do not create that school, the personal excellence school for children, you're probably doing disservice to a lot of other kids like me who were in school and, who really wanted somebody to come and tell those kids that, hey, you know what, there is a lot of power within you. You might be just 5-year-old, 7-year-old, but you are a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, this is absolutely important. So now, no pressure, but
but a little bit of pressure. But a little bit of pressure. No, for sure. No, I will definitely follow that. And at some point, you will definitely see it. I'll definitely let you know once it's time to launch that. All right, fantastic. So Rupa, if people want to find out more about you and what you do, how can they find you?
It's my first name and last name.com, rupapatil.com. And most of the information is available, including the book that I have written, including the courses that I offer, the coaching programs, and how to reach out to me. And also because, as I've said, when I started this journey, I did not have anybody to have a communication with. Even when I was willing to pay, I did not have people to talk. And that's the reason why I've taken it and made it as my mission to offer that as a service for free for anybody to have a conversation. So the first 15 minutes of consultation, at least right now, is free for anybody to reach out to me. Just ask me anything. And my only intention on that call is to be of service, of absolute service.
Fantastic.
So rupapatil.com is where you'll find all of that.
Awesome. So guys, if you want to check out Rupa Patil and, listen to her more and, also to her podcast, because you have a podcast as well, right?
Yeah, I have a Mastermind fireside chat available. Again, the information is there on
Fantastic. All right. I'll leave the links in the description down below. So if you want to check her out, then, check the links in the description down below. And Rupa, is there anything else you would love to say by the end of the interview? Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up right here.
I have one message for all the listeners. I just want to tell them that the very fact that you are tuned in, you are right here in this space. This is a space of personal development. That is an indication that you have a dream and you have everything it takes to make that dream come true. So it's just a matter of finding the right coach, the right mentor, and taking the right action without giving up on any of your dreams or any of your actions. Just go ahead, take it and do it. And a big round of applause for all of them who is listening to this and investing in self-education and self-growth.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. So guys, if you enjoyed this interview, then let me know in the comments down below. Leave this video a thumbs up and also make sure to subscribe to the channel so you get notified whenever I upload a new video and come out with an interview just like this one. And Rupa, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. I really had, a lot of fun, pleasure, joy, however you want to call it, and learned a lot as well. You're an amazing person. And thank you for being.
And thank you for having me on your show. And it was an absolute pleasure to be of service to you and for your audience. So Fantastic. Thank you and namaste.
Fantastic. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.